What you see right now has become more and more common in old school Runescape. This is a bot farm, ran by someone who set up a script in their custom client and is now farming gold, which then later is sold at a black market. Almost every day I log in, I see some type of bot farm, whether it's to scam innocent bystanders, farm a very profitable monster, or gather resources through skilling. And seeing so many of them made me wonder one thing: is this even profitable, and why can't Jagex get rid of them? I've spent the last week going through dozens of threads on Reddit, Twitter, Discord servers, YouTube videos. I found a prominent scripter who gave me a lot of inside information, and I want to get to the bottom of this. So in this video I will explain everything you need to know about botting in old school RuneScape, how it's done, how it affects you personally, and how much money these bot farms make. Now, I want to emphasize that I'm a big advocate against bot farms. I made multiple videos in the past about specific bot farms and how they ruin the experience for the average player, but I never looked at the bigger picture. The very first question you probably want the answer to is this: can I set up my own bot farm to make tons of money as a side hustle? And the answer is, I wouldn't recommend it, and here's why. You see, Jagex very likely knows you're gonna run a bot farm before you even come off the tutorial island. I mean, it takes 15 seconds to type into Google old school RuneScape bots and you can already find the public script. Everybody with at least 2 brain cells can set this up, but guess what? Jagex can do that exact same thing. The problem is all the time, effort, and money you have to invest into a bot farm even before you start seeing any profits. And by the time you actually start seeing any money, you are most likely already banned. Not to mention how low the actual money value is on black market. And I will get into details later on in the video how much your average bot farm makes per month. Now, the botting scene is constantly evolving and people are trying to find new ways to make guaranteed profit. For example, just a few months ago, Jagex released membership codes. You can buy a bond, turn that bond into a code, and if you enter it, boom, you get 14 days of membership. So let's say a bot farm made 15 million GP on their account. They buy a bond, turn that into 14-day membership code, and sell that on the black market. However, Jagex realized this very fast and discontinued the membership codes immediately after they found out. The difference is that Jagex has the resources to play this cat and mouse game, and as a single player, it's nearly impossible to go against that. Now you might be asking, well, Kriibus, I see bots every day in my game. Obviously Jagex has lost this race and doesn't know what they're doing. Well, not really. The current standard in gaming is to do ban waves, which means you let the bots roam around for 1 week, 2 weeks, maybe even a month, and then you ban all of them simultaneously at the same time. What does this accomplish? Number one, it is much harder to collect data for bot farms if they all get banned at the same time after a long period. They don't have any feasible resistance because there's nothing indicating that Jagex caught them now. Because if you ban somebody on, let's say, day 2 or day 3, they can backtrack that. The bot farms can see what went wrong, change their script slightly, and push the bots out again. Good example of that is the current bot farms at Nex. At the time of making this video, the prices of unique items are dropping drastically every single day because there's so many items coming into the game. Now, I guarantee you in about a few months from now, those same prices of unique items are gonna go back up because suddenly the entire Nex bot farm disappears and demand for Torva items is going to be bigger than the supply. That's why also if you visit Reddit or Twitter at certain times, you suddenly see like 100 posts come out at the same time saying they all got falsely banned. In reality, 99% of them were just caught in a ban wave. I'm not saying everybody is guilty, but that's just how these things go. Ideally, we'd like to live in a world where Jagex can ban these bots immediately, and a lot of them do get banned right away. Moda Isa said that Jagex bans more than 70,000 accounts every single week. Also, something that's very important, making serious technical improvements to fight against bots is so much harder than it actually looks, and it can take sometimes up to months or years to develop. So it's easy for us to say, hey, why not just ban this bot I saw on high scores, but the reality is that managing such a colossal problem in the long run is much more healthy than trying to brute force manual bans in short run. But at the end of the day, all of them will get banned at some point. Now, botting is guaranteed to get you 100% ban rates, but if you want a 100% positive outcome, you should hit that subscribe button like your life depends on it. Because you never know, the next video I post might just be something you're looking for. Thank you very much. Now, this might come as a shock to you, but one of the clients bot farms use is actually Runelite. Like I said, Runelite is an open source client, which is the perfect condition to run a bot farm. This was also probably one of the many reasons why Jagex few years ago wanted to get rid of Runelite in the first place. It's also probably one of the reasons why Jagex is currently implementing their own client that has all the Runelite features like plugins, HD mode and much more. Now, the obvious answer is to remove all open source clients from the game, but for example, I asked my audience if they would play Oldschool Runescape if Runelite was removed, and 65% of them said no, I would not continue playing. Also, I do want to emphasize, just removing Runelite won't remove botting. Bots will still find a way, even if Runelite is gone. But the current reality is that a lot of bot owners use what's called Runelite forks. Since the entire code of Runelite is available for free, bot owners can just copy the project over from GitHub and start developing their own client independently. And that's how some of the bot clients are being made, and that's where they run their scripts. But you know what, enough about Runelite. Let's talk about money. How much does a single bot farm make on average? Well, let's look at some calculations. The price of gold is currently 15 cents. You find a moneymaker that is 2 million GP hour, and you run 10 accounts on that moneymaker. That means you should make on average about $3 rows every single hour. You run them 8 hours a day and you make nice $24 and pray to God that Jagex detection system doesn't flag you and hunt you down. That is all nice and dandy. Congratulations, you now have a small operation going on that gives you more than $600 a month. But now you also need to consider expenses. Bonding up all those 10 accounts is easily like 120 million GP cost. You also need to consider outside costs like electricity, internet bills, and so on. If you're trying to do endgame content, you also need number 1, train your accounts manually, which is a big time investment, or number 2, buy those accounts, which is even a bigger cost. And if you do buy accounts, you have to consider if they were already leveled up using bots, which might get them banned even before you start. You also then need to invest money into scripts. Now, you can get a very simple script for less than $10, but that script is also likely used by hundreds of people, which means that the chances of you getting banned are very high. You could also get a custom script made for you specifically, but now we're talking about hundreds of dollars of investment to a project you might lose at any moment. Some people also rent out their scripts for a certain time, like a day, a week, or a month, and you pay a subscription fee based on how long you rent it out. Then you also need to consider your hardware. You technically can bot on a normal PC, but once you start scaling your operation, it is gonna heavily clutter your daily use. So maybe you need to invest into more RAM or a better CPU. You also need to consider places that not many people visit in-game. I previously mentioned that there is a massive bot farm and Next right now, because it's actually a perfect place to set up your farm. The entire fight is instanced, and if anyone else joins the fight, the bots just log out before you can even right click them, which means that actual players never really have a chance to report them. You also gotta realize that if you get caught at any moment I just mentioned, you have to start the entire process again. Buy bonds, buy new scripts, set everything up, train the accounts, and all of it is an investment in either time or money that will likely not profit you in the long run. But if you get through all of this and actually manage to make, let's say, I don't know, 1 billion GP, which goes for $150, you now need to carefully move that amount of money from one account to another without raising any flags. The biggest problem with botting isn't even the botting itself, it's actually managing to sell the money, especially if you have large amounts. It's a logistical nightmare that either requires manual labor or custom-made script, which again costs more money. Also, you gotta keep in mind that there is a reason why the value of gold is 15 cents per mil. Jagex has started to heavily ban accounts that buy gold rather than bots themselves, which means bots can't sell their gold anymore, and the price of gold has dropped significantly because the supply of gold is much bigger than the demand. Players simply don't want to buy gold anymore as much as they did many years ago. Good example of that was Duel Arena. Gold buying was at an all-time high during staking, and it stayed that way even after the arena was removed because deathmatching in PvP still existed. But few months ago, Jagex slapped their PP on the table and removed that as well. So there are less and less gold buyers every day. So if you put all of that together, you slowly start to realize that botting really isn't profitable in the long run, at least for most people. You risk more than you gain. That being said, like I mentioned, Jagex still bans thousands and thousands of accounts every single week because big portion of the player base still believes they can make a profit. And some of these bot farms are actually insanely good. They use custom scripts that are not public. They use virtual machines that do not leave any trace. They use residential proxies instead of VPNs. They delete all local files after every session and so on and so on. They are extremely thorough. And guess what? Even they get banned despite doing all of this work. I talked with one prominent scripter on the scene because I wanted to learn more about this topic. And he said that these days it's actually much easier to just learn how to code and start selling scripts rather than using those scripts in the game. You actually make more money if you don't even play Runescape. And he also mentioned that if you come to a point where you know how to write decent scripts, you might as well take an entry-level coding job instead of trying to sell $15 scripts to other players, which I thought was really funny. In conclusion, I want to point out one very obvious flaw that not many people realize. I am very biased towards the fact that I don't like bots, despite the fact that this topic is really interesting to me. The reason I don't like bots is not because it ruins my gaming experience, that's just a side effect. I don't like bots because the amount of accounts that get banned every single day. Listen to this. Number of accounts that got banned in 2023 was almost 7 million. Yeah, 7 million accounts removed in just 1 year. And in those accounts were actually a few people I know that got falsely banned. Luckily, we got some of them back through official appeals, but it's very clear that Jagex doesn't have enough people to go through all of those millions of bans. You could hire 100 more people, 200 more people, it doesn't matter. There isn't enough customer support to go through all those appeals. If over 100,000 accounts get banned every single week, no amount of human power can go through all those requests. The problem with false bans isn't entirely on Jagex, it's also on bot farms. Since the system is mostly automated just because of the sheer amount of bots, that also means that your average player might get caught in the crossfire. That it's physically impossible to build a machine that is 100% accurate, and even if Jagex has a system that works 99.99% of the time, that still means on average 700 false bans every year, despite the fact that the rest of the 7 million bans were accurate. Now obviously we all think Jagex could do better, and they are improving their system every year. If people don't set up their bots to farm some money, we wouldn't be in a situation where innocent people lose their accounts in the first place. Jagex wouldn't need to ban 7 million accounts every year and instead could put more effort into other parts of the game. So the next time you find somebody who runs a bot farm, they are the real problem. I'm not saying Jagex is innocent here. God forbid, Jagex has so many problems that require an entire video on its own, but the core issue is always bots.